Yeah, what's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Prison Break Raw. I'm your host, one and only Big JD. Go ahead, get this channel, subscribe, share, leave some messages or comments, hit the thumbs up for the like, notification bell to be informed of all episodes as they drop. Most importantly, if you enjoy this content, please feel free to share it. Share it to your family, your friends, your coworkers, anywhere and everywhere on your social media platforms. Let's get this raw and uncut material out there to the millions that don't know we are here. So this is a collab that's been in the making for some time now. Finally managed to get it rocking and rolling and get it done. Many of you out there know who this gentleman is. He does a lot of material discussing what goes on in the life of things south of the border, and he has basically developed a pretty large following on YouTube. You know him as OG Shadow Official. I'm going to go ahead and just let him run it through with you and introduce himself to you and tell you who he is, what he's all about. And I'm just going to take it from there. I'm just going to let him take over from there. What's up, my man, Shadow? Almost done.
Thank you, sir. Very kind introduction. Very kind, sir. I'm here trying to de-glamorize this life that is portrayed in Netflix and Narcos and these series. I want to bring the truth to these kids that all you get out of this is death, bad health, in prison. Those are the only three outcomes. And death isn't always you. It could touch a family member or someone you love. So that's my main reason to be here. And yeah, I've channeled my boy mentioned, and anyone who'd like to check that out, that would be cool. And yeah, I'll let my boy JD, I know he has some questions to drop, so I'll let him shoot.
So, how long have you been down there in Mexico? And we do know that you are in Mexico. You're not in New York. You're not sitting in some Hollywood studio somewhere, from what some people have tried to speculate. You're not any of that stuff. You do have heritage that's probably different than a lot of people are used to seeing. But what people don't know is that many people that are living down there, where what people try to say, well, they look white. They look like they're white. Well, it's because they are white, you know. They're just Mexican nationals. They were born and raised there. And maybe you can clear up some of that people just don't seem to get through their ill-informed heads.
Okay, yeah. So actually, all Mexicans are part European. The only ones who aren't European are the actual indigenous small pockets of population. So, especially when you go into central Mexico and to lots of places, it's not uncommon to see people with blue eyes, green eyes, blonde hair, and a lot lighter skin than me by far. And that's just the Spanish blood on top of all the other French and European heritage that has been brought in over the years. And a lot of people confuse that. And on top of that, with me, my mom's American. So my dad's Mexican, my mom's American. So on top of the European blood on my dad's side, I have the American blood on my mom's side. So yeah, I'm definitely blonde hair, blue eyed looking, but there's plenty of Mexicans who look blonde hair, blue eyed, even more so than me. And they don't have a mom who's American. They're just completely 100% Mexican, and they don't even speak English. But that's the European heritage. Like you said, a lot of people are ignorant that all Mexicans have European heritage except for the indigenous population, sir.
Yeah, so it's automatically right off the rip. You know, that's how dumb people are. And it's the reason why I do what I do, and it's the reason why I'm so obnoxious, because, you know, ignorance just kind of like, it's kind of like, it just irks me. You know, I just don't like it, because, I mean, I've taken the time to study it. You know, I've learned a lot about like Chicano culture, Mexicano culture, and everything, and I know what it is. The only difference between the white people in the United States and the white people of Mexico is the white people in the U.S. speak English and the ones in Mexico speak Spanish. But by every other genetic trace, they're the same people, exactly the same people.
You 100%, brother, 100%. And there's actually pockets of Mexico where they have completely Spanish or completely European blood with almost absolutely no indigenous trace. There's actually a lot of the older, wealthier families in Mexico have almost no indigenous roots. They're almost completely European roots, which sounds racist, and in fact it is, but a lot of the older money in Mexico are actually European families that with highly European blood. And that's where a lot of the old money here in Mexico comes from as well, from these older European families that have actually even been carried over, some of them since Spanish times.
And a lot of the Mexican people you see in like Arizona, California, places like that are actually more indigenous than they are anything else, right?
Yes, yes, yeah. A lot of the migrant workers and stuff like that. What we think of Mexicans, the shorter brown skin. I'm not sounding racist. Are the usually poor indigenous workers that are going to the United States looking for seasonal labor. Usually the lighter skinned, well off Mexicans stay in Mexico. They don't really have a reason to leave Mexico, and those aren't the type of people you see crossing the border. they don't. They
So
don't have the need to.
counts.
And
You are Mexican though, right?
yes, 100%. I'm Mexican and American. I was my father's Mexican and my mother is American.
But by blood and like everything, nationality, you're Mexican though, right?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm a Mexican citizen. I was born Mexican. My kids are Mexican. I'm married to a Mexican. Um, I was Mexican as como like I say here, soy tan mexicano como los nopales. I'm just as Mexican as the cactuses out in the desert.
I mean, that'd be the same thing as me saying, "Well, I'm American, but my mom's from Russia." It's the same thing. It's just like, and that's the thing because what a lot of people don't realize is there are down there in Mexico, like the European ones, they know the difference between them and the indigenous people down there, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Could you say that again? Say that again, brother.
I said the Mexicans like yourself, they know the difference between them and indigenous people, right?
Oh yes, actually, a lot of the indigenous population doesn't even speak Spanish. They speak their own dialects. Most of them do not speak Spanish. So a lot of the indigenous populations don't speak Spanish, and unfortunately, we don't have racism here, but there is a very big discrimination in between European-based Mexicans and indigenous-based Mexicans. Unfortunately, the indigenous-based Mexicans are usually the ones that do the manual labor, and the people in political jobs and things like that are usually the people of European blood. So it's not really black and white or anything like that, but it's definitely more of an indigenous, non-indigenous type racism here.
That's why all the movies and all the novellas and everything you see, they're all like people like, well, they all look white. Well, it's because they are white. Sorry, you know what I mean?
Yes,
They're European. You know.
100%, 100%. And like it's even an insult here. They'd say "pinche India." That's like you dirty little Indian. That would be like an insult here for someone who has like a maid who's of a lower class of indigenous. It can be used as an insult here too. To call someone India, it's like calling someone ignorant or indigenous as well. And unfortunately, a lot of them are taken advantage of, brother. I know lots of cases where, like, Zeds will go into indigenous communities and completely abuse the population and just massacre, and the people can't even report on it. They don't even speak Spanish. So they're very highly taken abused of, unfortunately. My heart goes out to them. Actually, I did a video where 20 were massacred and 15 were wounded just last week in one incident.
I heard they even got people of African descent that are considered Mexican as well. Is that true?
Yes, there's an Afro Mexican population, especially along the Caribbean coast. Um, There's definitely pockets all through Mexico. They're not indigenous in the sense that they don't speak Spanish, but they're indigenous in the sense that they have African blood that's not just Mexican blood. So yeah, mainly around the Caribbean coast, there's definitely Afro-Mexicans.
Yeah.
You're very
So
educated on that, JD. You're surprising me.
yeah, yeah. There's not
Not too
people
many
be
people know about
surprised.
that.
People be surprised at what Big JD knows. I've taken the time to study a lot of these things because it fascinates me. It just what
Me too.
fascinates what fascinates me more is people's level of ignorance. That's the most fascinating thing of all. Is the fact that people will speak on so many different things and they don't even know what they're talking about. You know,
Yes,
it's
I
just
had someone trying to tell me because um, I'm light skinned, I look European, that I couldn't be from Mexico and this and that, and that I couldn't have worked with those people because I look like that. Some of the most heaviest people in in those organizations are European looking people, and on top of that, if just so let's get this clear, everybody, while we're on this video, if I were to be faking what I was faking, the cartel or whoever you would like to say would trace my IP address or would have done so a long time ago and gotten rid of me. So I'm definitely, I think, and I know JD understands that too.
yeah. I mean, we tread carefully. We know what to talk about. We know not what to talk about. Um, so let's get into a little bit of that. So like a lot of these, because I got Mexican blood in me too, and my actual ancestors come from around the area where they used to, and I never knew this, but I learned this several years ago. They used to call them like tapatíos, you know,
Yes,
and it kind of made sense because you look at the bottle of tapatio hot sauce, and
yes.
the guy on there, and he's got blue eyes.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There was even actually a battalion of all Irish soldiers who fought in the Mexican army. They were called the St. Patrick's Brigade, La Batallón de San Patricio. So there's actually a long history of European people even fighting for on the side of Mexico, and a lot of people. Actually, if you look into it, Zorro, the legend of Zorro, was based on an Irish dissident who had been jailed in Mexico City, who kept escaping, trying to incite revolution against the Spanish. So there's definitely a long history of such things.
Yeah, Zorro, he was like the Mexican Robin Hood.
Yep, and basically, yep. And he was of Irish descent, and a lot of people didn't know that. And he escaped like 3 times.
No, I knew that though. Guess
Isn't
what?
that interesting?
Guess what? Everybody, Zorro's an Irishman. It's. I love this, man, because a lot of people are gonna have some kind of a paradigm shift with this. Because people were always like, "Oh, look at Shadow. He's a white man. He's probably up there in like Michigan or some stupid shit. He's an imposter." It's just like you obviously ain't never been to Mexico. You obviously don't know what's going on down there because that place is pretty much all European, just like the U.S. is, just like Canada is. It's the same thing.
Oh, and you can tell the people what I showed you out my back window yesterday. What's it look like out my back window? Let them know.
This man is definitely in Mexico. I can tell you that for it. I'm not going to go on here and tell you where he's at, but I know where he's at. I know where he's at. So, been down around that way myself a couple of times.
God's
Not
country.
exactly, but I've seen all those hills and everything in the back. You're in Mexico just by the landscape. You
Yes,
know.
sir. Yes, sir. It's very unique. It's very unique.
So what's going on with a lot of this? We'll talk about what we can and we won't talk about what we can't. But what's going on with is there still like a lot of cartel stuff? Like, is there like a lot of infighting going on? Is it intensifying? Is it getting less? Is the government, this new president, is he cracking down on it like he said he was, or is he just another in the pocket guy?
Well, they're all in the pocket. They're all in the pocket. It's just which cartel they're in the pocket. But Traditionally, Sinaloa has been a bastion of security without violence here. You know, this has been a place where kids can walk to school safely, women are respected, children are protected. That's just how it's been here a long time. But over the past 6 months, things have changed because traditionally, the original ruler of Sinaloa has always been Mayo. But when Chapo was arrested and put into prison, his sons are trying to make a power play on control for the Sinaloa cartel, and that's what's causing infighting right now, and it's causing a lot of death and instability and the traditional order of how things have originally been run here.
One question I want to ask you, and you don't have to answer. You could just say no comment if you want. But you've heard how Trump has talked about like building the wall and all that kind of stuff. What is the general like thinking about that down there about building the wall?
So I'll tell you a shadow prediction I did a year ago. Even if the wall were to work, which it won't, because the first new section of the wall that they built around San Diego, they had already detected 3 tunnels under it, and that was with their detecting equipment that supposedly was undetectable. On top of that, if it were to be successful, it would cause a humanitarian crisis, which would cause the flow of human traffic to disperse from the desert to the oceans. So imagine instead of us just defending Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, we're going to be defending all our coastlines from this huge, massive migration of people trying to get to the United States that were originally crossing through the desert. And it's going to be a humanitarian disaster. And all that blood, I'm an American too. It's going to be on our hands at the end of the day. And we're going to be forcing these people into these situations where they're going to be taken advantage of, and it's going to be ugly, you know. And on top of that, we all know those walls could be defeated with catapults. I also saw a video of someone just literally walking right up at the ladder and then rappelling over the other side of the wall. So there's really even low-tech solutions to beat it. But even if for some reason it did affect mass migration, it would just cause a humanitarian crisis. That's my personal opinion.
Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah, I haven't heard anyone with that opinion other than me, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Let me ask you this. Another one, I already know the answer to this, but another one that they were talking about, they said that the talking point is that not only Mexicans and Central Americans are coming over that border, that people from the Middle East and Africa and Asian are also going over it. Have you seen that?
Of course they are, brother. Actually, Cartel Jalisco is running out of hitmen right now, and a lot of the people that were working for them are Haitian. So there's some food for thought. You know, there's a lot of people. It's a very porous border. Traditionally, when Sinaloa had control of that border, you know, they'd worked for a long time with the CIA. They actually prevented a lot of terrorist attacks. When they'd see Middle Eastern people or scary people, that's bad for business for them. So they'd get rid of those people as fast as they could. But right now, they don't have control of that border anymore. That border is controlled by a lot of people with nefarious agendas who really don't care about who goes across. So I most definitely have heard about what you're talking about, especially along the Texas border where the Zetas are in control, because they really don't care who goes across or who gets hurt. You know, they don't think long term as far as business goes. They're just after that quick money, unfortunately.
That's a trip to know that the Jalisco cartel, they're using Haitians, you said? From Haiti?
Yes. Yes.
Man, that's an eye-opener right there.
Well, yeah, a lot of their training comes from Gaiviles, you know, which are Central American mercenaries that the CIA, we trained in the Contras, you know, in Guatemala and stuff during the Reagan administration around that area. And a lot of them are offering their services as well for Mencho right now for Cartel Jalisco, along with the Haitians. So most of his soldiers are foreign because a lot of the local groups have abandoned him, and because of the things they're doing in Mexico, the people from Jalisco the people in Mexico are kind of fed up, to say the least.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I heard that they're actually they're not really so welcoming with all the like Guatemalans and Salvadorians that are coming, are they?
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Like if you go into Tijuana, there's a famous video of there's a food shelter where they're offering them beans and rice and stuff, and the Salvadoran lady, basically said that wasn't good enough for her. That she wasn't that was poor people food. That she wasn't interested in it. And for the Mexicans, that the beans and their rice, sometimes that's the best they have to offer. And a lot of those camps, there's been a lot of robberies and a lot of other things going on that have been very. I'm trying to be very diplomatic here, but have been very. They haven't been right for the Mexican people, who've been trying to be very hospitable, and they've received nothing but slaps in the face again and again and again and again. On top of it, there was actually a crisis where all the Haitians were there along the border, very similar, and they were given papers to cross, and they went and sold the papers for a couple thousands of dollars, and just stayed in Tijuana. So that kind of shows you some of the mentality that's going on there right now. It's profit-based mentality, and unfortunately, there are people that deserve to get across and want to get across, and they're suffering because of the expense of these other people and their greed.
Another one that we heard that's pretty interesting, and a lot of people say it's a conspiracy theory. But one of the theories is when when the migrant caravans were coming through.
Yes.
There was one conspiracy out there that was saying that was like some kind of a funded effort by people within the U.S. and in Europe and places like that were actually setting that whole thing up and paying those people all kinds of money to go over. Do you know anything about like that?
You're speaking about George Soros, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yes, I've heard that. That's touchy for me to speak on, but a lot of those groups, they definitely were being funded by somebody who was paying their way up there, was facilitating a lot of their food, a lot of their transportation. I think that kind of speaks for itself. I'm not going to say yes or no, but I think with what I just said there, it definitely says yes, someone was paying for them to get up there. Most definitely. And there is definitely some type of political agenda, and someone was paying their food, their logistics, as well as their security, because someone was protecting those people from being robbed. Because normally when large groups of people travel through Mexico from one side to another, there's lots of robbery and things going on, and those people were pretty well protected. They actually had soldiers walking them through a lot of the way, escorting them a lot of the way. So I'm in agreement with you. There's something fishy going on there, most definitely.
All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk a little bit about you. You told me that you have a lot of nerve damage and everything, right?
Yes.
So did you survive like an attempt on your life, or?
I had a bunch of different things that caused a complication of things, but yes, I had. I've been out of this life 11 years working as a journalist, and before I wanted to get out, I had a couple of things happen that definitely affected my health negatively. One of them being me with fragments in the spine and a couple of other places, front of my face as well. And I put my health on the back burner for a long time. A lot of people have been watching my channels over the last 3 or 4 years. Actually watched me lose use of both my hands for a long time, almost for a year and a half. And it was over surgeries, and a couple good doctors, and me actually finally paying attention to the medication I needed to take, that I've regained my health over time. And thank God I'm staying on top of things now, you know, and with what's going on with YouTube, it's been able to help me out as well as far as keeping my health in good condition and staying on top of it, because things are a lot cheaper when you prevent it than when you let them get worse and then you have to treat them. It's 10 times as expensive and 10 times as painful. I've learned the hard way.
You also got shot pretty much in the face, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've shown in a couple videos. I can't. I'm not gonna sit here and really show right now because I can't see too well. But yeah, with the light. But yes, I did.
Yeah, that's. I mean,
It wasn't a shot, if you're gonna think like a shot like that, but it was a fragment that hit me right dead in the face. Yeah, it was a fragment for an AK-47, which is a pretty big. It's a 7.62 by 39 round. So a fragment from that's pretty nasty.
yeah, to say the least. I mean, that's
Well,
like.
I showed you the piece of my jaw and all the thing I had removed, right, this morning. I don't know if you remember that. And that was that was one of the bigger pieces, and then some of it ended up, yeah, it was nasty. It was nasty. But the good thing is I'm here, and life's good. You know, life's good. No complaints.
That's good, man. I mean, it's. We're happy that you've recovered, and we know that you have to be on lifetime pain management. You have to,
Yes, sir,
I
I
mean,
do.
a lot of people can say a lot of things, and they could talk whatever they want to say, but most people don't realize what it's like to have a bunch of bullet fragments in your body. And
Yes, that you're right, sir. And thank you for
yeah,
bringing that. Thank you for pointing that out.
yeah, I got one in my leg, and it causes me problems sometimes, and I think even at some point it had probably a piece might have ricocheted off of my bone
Yes, probably did.
and has actually caused me more complications for my lower back. People don't realize that you could get injured in the legs and it can actually affect your back.
Oh
You know?
yeah, oh yeah. That pain can travel up, and it can shoot up all the way from one nerve ending to another. It's amazing. Pain travel, and sometimes it comes in pulsations, where you might not feel something for a month or two, and then out of nowhere it'll just hit you. And sometimes I feel it. Maybe the fragment moved, or sometimes I was also talking to a doctor. He said sometimes they can calcify. So, there's definitely factors, but unfortunately the pain can get worse. But I've been blessed lately that things are getting better, and I really appreciate you noticing that, because we're not gonna say names, but somebody was talking trash about me. With my pain medication I take, it's hard, man. To do this channel, I do the best I can, but I think some people try to have a, how would I say, negative outlook on how I am and how I have to deal with my pain, but it's not really an option. As far as pain management goes, I wouldn't be able to work like I am at all, if it wasn't for it. And thank God we're at the time we are now in our lives that pain management isn't to the point where it used to be horrible, when people used to have to actually just suffer, and pain and just bite it out with an aspirin. At least we're at the point now where we can function, and I'm sure you take something from your pain, maybe, or maybe you just tough it out. But either way, we've come a long way as far as pain management goes, and I'm very grateful for it, because I saw a lot of people go through really painful experiences with cancer and other things like that, that it's just horrible to see someone suffer, and pain can be a son of a bitch. And luckily, with me getting this taken out and the operations I've had, I've probably taken out 90% of my pain. So I'm blessed as far as that goes, and thank God.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is that people don't realize how much damage these bullets do. Some people think that it's like Hollywood, man. You get shot in the shoulder, a little bit of blood comes out, and the couple days later, the guy's fucking throwing full roundhouse punches, straight left hooks and right hooks, and jumping up and down and climbing walls and all that. It's like Dude, sometimes when you get shot, you may not be able to use your arm for a long time because it does so much damage, severs
I used to
nerves and all.
I actually put up videos of me bleeding out from bullet fragments about 2 years ago on my Patreon account and on my normal YouTube account as well. And I was pretty close to losing my life that day. It hit an artery. And, you know, it's funny. It's the little ones that get you. You know, sometimes you think the big hits are the ones that get you. It's not. It's the little tiny things that are, you know, costing you your life. And it's always unexpected. It catches you off guard because, you know, we like to think that we're so tough and we're invincible, and in youth we have that in our mind. But I noticed after about 30 years old, you start to realize how fragile the human body is. You know, it really is a very a fragile organism. At the end of the day, just the tiniest things can end someone's life so fast.
Absolutely. So what are you doing? What are you doing as far as like positive work in the community and stuff?
So I have a water purifier, and I also have a food program. People can check out my videos. I usually try to bring it at least up to like a quarter ton of food, which would be beans, rice, things that can be stored for long term without having to worry about losing them to mold, things like that. So mainly the purifier. I provide 5 gallons of clean drinking water for about $1. And if you were going to go to the store, you could only buy a liter for that same dollar. So I'm giving them about 20 times as much water for the same price. And I bring it right to their doorstep on top of everything else because a lot of people don't have cars.
Well, it's a noble goal. So any of yous out there want to, you know, help him with that, you can go to his channel and his channel will guide you in the right direction to help with that. Water is a good thing, man. Everybody needs water, you know?
Yeah, especially out here, the water is very poisonous. A lot of people, even children, die out here of dysentery, things like that. Clean water should be a given right, but it's not, unfortunately.
It's a sad thing, man. I hate to see children suffer. You know, children are like, they're very important to me. You know what I mean? Their salvation, their strength, and the ability to have the opportunity to grow and pursue their dreams is something that everybody should definitely
They're
be
innocent. You
for.
know, they're innocent, and they're our future on top of everything else. You know.
Yeah, they could be taking care of us someday. You know, so so you know, I got to take that into consideration.
Amen to that, my friend. Amen to that.
All right, my man. I'll close this one out with you. We'll hopefully we get you back on again and get some more into it. Maybe some people have some questions or something. We could bring you back and we can ask those questions.
I love that, brother. And yeah, again, my hat off to you, JD. You're a brave man, and I only wish you the best. I wish your channel success. I'm gonna give you a post. I'm gonna put a post out for you to make sure my subscribers go hit up your channel. And yeah, I wish you the best in life, brother. You take care, and you know what I'm saying. I know you're gonna. You're already on the way to success, brother. You're there. You're gonna blow up more than you can imagine. You'll see. You're gonna be up there with putting CNN on the back burner, fake, you know, CNN fake news. You're gonna be breaking JD's real news. You're gonna be putting them out of business here in a little bit, my friend.
Tinfoil Hat TV, and on this one, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out with Prison Break Raw, uncut, uncensored, nose barred, non-sugarcoat, non-politically correct, all up in your face, slapping them with that. What are we slapping them with?
That dick of reality, my friend.
That dick of reality, and we out.